I don't know if you're hearing me or not, but if you're not hearing me, it wasn't critically important. Well, I was just giving you some station identification. MauiNeutralZone.com. If you're live, you're listening on 88.5 FM. KAKU, the voice of Maui. And I have a guest that hasn't yet arrived. He came in from the outer Netherlands of Huelo. And Huelo is really haiku by postal zip codes, but it's Huelo. Way back, I call it way back, in 1992 and 90, goodness gracious, way back then, I was living in Huelo myself, next to Moki Kahiamoi and Jonathan. I don't know Jonathan's last name. I might remember it. And good place. In fact, Kat Tracy, who's here at Akaku, lived out there. And Doug and Guy, that was a really interesting end of the road, down Dorfaith Road and to the left and down into the valley. It's still a beautiful remote place, but on another road there's a house and a bunch of houses, and that's where Nikhilananda lives, and he has been running for the seat there, the county council seat, way back when, but also the State House of Representatives as a Green Party candidate, and has been very involved in keeping the Green Party alive and on the ballot, but also looking to win an election here. There's all kinds of reasons that a political system that has a third party is, we should have an open thing with no parties. Well, we try and some of that in our county, and for some things we do have party affiliation. And God knows there's this party affiliation going on nationally that we see what it's doing and paralyzing, and to some people it's progressing our country and turning us into an economic crazy land, with a social crazy land, a international hawk, a war hawk. I thought this guy was talking about peace. A peace of what? How do you go and attack Greenland when all you're going to do is ask? What are you doing trying to make them your country? What is it? What is it with leaders that think that it's important to acquire more territory? What's so critical? What is he thinking? I'd like to explore that, but not here. This is a political year. Hopefully we're going to have guests like Yuki Sugimura, who's going to be running against, among others, Richard Bisson, our current mayor here in Maui County. And I know there are a number of council seats that should be contested this year, with Yuki Lei getting out of her coolest seat where she's been all these terms. There's going to be new blood there, and we're going to see all kinds of activity this year. I'm sure of it. Some of that, if we're going to have all the candidates in a race, then they'll be on our show. But before the primary, you're not likely to see me open the doors to any political candidates. Before the political season started, I'm taking the liberty to start this year off with a man that is really so committed to the betterment of our county and has been so involved in politics here for so long as I'm here. And I like to say he's older than me. He's a few months older than me, Nikhilananda. Many people know his name because he's been running, but because he's Green Party, they maybe do or don't listen exactly to what he's saying because they've been affiliated with other parties and pretty well trust their leadership to help with their own guidance many times to select the best candidates they feel from their party. So a Green is like, wait, we're going to have to break our old tradition of voting through our party. And even though we say we're independent, we generally rely on their leadership to help us in choosing the best candidate, right? But now, this year, things are kind of different. This is post a fire. Our economy and the housing issue is really, really up. The economy, depends who you talk to, but things are lousy. That's what I'm seeing out there. Things are regional here on Maui. Things are really crazy. There's no advantages to being local. There's no advantage or any way working in the economy that can be really meaningful to get housing for people that isn't. I mean, I call it emergency because to me, having no housing is an emergency. I've seen the homeless population here up close and personal, not only through some of my guests that are there on the front lines, I want to say, of this housing issue, but also I've seen it personally with people that I know that even when working are forced into being homeless because of conditions on this island. Next month, I guess February 9th or 10th, FEMA is withdrawing its financial support, so there's going to be a unusual, confusional thing going on here because all those people that are in the FEMA supported housing are facing an abrupt change happening in their lives. So that's going to ripple out. I have people I know already that are retired that are thinking and moving to Thailand because they can't afford to be here anymore. There's no way they can afford it. Well, looks like my guest is arriving. He'll just be walking in. We'll make believe we didn't notice. How's that? So, tell me, Nick.
Morning, Jason.
Is that you sneezing or coughing?
No, that's radar.
This man has I want to call him a emotional support animal. This dog needs emotional support. Hi, Radar. Hey, young man. Yeah. Please sit. You've been in here before, and if not, welcome to the studio.
No, I haven't been here since the
Let's
studio
give you a
was changed.
microphone. Put it in front of where it needs to be. Come on, you don't have to
How's
do
that?
more than... Well, you can check it yourself.
Good.
You have a microphone right there. Let's see you talk.
Good morning.
Oh,
And I want to...
he's loud, this guy.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I talk loud, so I can
keep
talk
talking,
a little
keep talking.
Yeah. I'm just saying that I want to get my voice so that it's not overly loud because I
Oh,
talk
well, you'll
loud.
have to do that by not being quite
And
as
I
close.
want to apologize.
Don't be quite as close.
Yeah, I want to... Oh, don't be so close. Okay, how's that?
Perfect.
Yeah, first of all, apologies for walking in after you began, so apologies to that. I'm sure that when I'm ready to die, I'm going to say, wait a second, I got 2 more weeks of stuff I have to do. So, but here I am. Anyway, good morning.
That was quite an intro.
Yeah, right.
That was like a 5-minute, 3-minute kind of... You have
That was
a very
actually
nice
30
dog.
seconds, but...
Yeah, that dog is with you everywhere, and if not,
Oh, yeah.
he cries more than I do.
No, he's amazing. And then within 5 minutes, he's going to be asleep on the... Yeah, he's already down asleep on the floor.
Good. Well,
But
let's
he's
get back
so
to
hyper.
the things that...
Anyway, okay, yeah.
Well, you know, let me ask you a quick question. This is the year of a new election, right?
This
This
is
is an election year, correct?
It's an election. It's an election
All right,
year.
and it's not official until candidates start getting in the race and being accountable with all that filing.
Yeah, they've got to...
Some of them have talked before they can even file, so we know some are running. But this show is an equal opportunity thing, so that if you were a candidate now, everyone running in your race wouldn't have a word to say to me until they're official and it's the season. So this is like open season. That means if you want to say anything about anyone, about anything, you have a free ticket to ride. This is 2026. You and I, since the last century, were involved in politics. You much more directly as a candidate. It's been rare that you haven't run every 2 years in some fashion for your seat, but you are a known quantity, not only as a Green Party candidate and leader with the Green agenda, which has changed some over the years, but it's pretty basically progressive. And I want to say it isn't left or right. It makes sense. It's really a common sense kind of deal, not to be confused with any party that calls itself common sense. I got involved way back when, and I like to keep saying, I've heard me do it many times, you could vote for me, and I would be comfortable in leaving the keys to the kingdom with you. So welcome to our show. This is a big honor, whether you understand it or not. I just sort of know that you're a man who has something to say, and if I open that mic to you in a moment, you might talk. Take it, Groucho.
Good, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. You touched on so many different issues. First of all, before we go on with our discussion, condolences to all the deadheads out there on the passing of Bob Weir. And there's been quite a few comments and commentary and music on the radio and even on TV about his passing, an original member of the Grateful Dead, 17 years old when he joined Jerry Garcia. I believe it was with the Warlocks. And then they eventually became the Grateful Dead, and the rest is history. So again, anyone out there that's a deadhead or has heard of the Grateful Dead, our condolences on the passing of Bob Weir.
Yes.
I believe Bill Kreutzmann is the last living original member.
He was a drummer, right?
He was. They had two drummers. Mickey Hart was one drummer later on, but originally they had one drummer, and that was Bill Kreutzmann. So to your comments on the election, boy, that's a mouthful. We could be here for hours.
Right.
There's local races. There's state races. There's national races.
We know that.
And so, well, not everybody does. The amazing thing is that a
they don't
third
have
of the
to learn it
population
on my show. I'm
doesn't-
interested in your opinions. I don't need education about how this system is put together. If I was putting the system together, I would have been long ago off the air. Anyone that doesn't agree with me, I'm going to clamp them down. If you don't agree with me, I'm going to investigate you. And if not, and I get out, and I'm going to have everything erased and turned upside down. And then I'm just going to spike you and become president. Hey, Radar. You got to jump in here, buddy.
Oh, no, I don't want to interrupt while you're pontificating.
Oh, no,
and,
please do.
So as far as issues, we have two ears. I guess two people can be talking. Is he housebroken? Yeah, he's housebroken, but of course we're in a studio, so I don't know if he's studio broken, but he's back asleep again.
He's happy, I see.
So again, yeah, by the way, thank you very much for the invite today. It is 2026. And yeah, people in the state of Hawaii can start pulling papers, I believe, on the 5th of February. They have to file them in June. It might be June 10th. Don't count on either of those two dates, but it is February and June. And we will have this year, the county of Maui will have races for mayor and the county council, the state, and all the throughout the entire state. All the state representatives will be up, and then 12 or 13 state senators. And I believe the governor also. Again, I'm going to catch myself right there. I'm not sure if the governor's, I believe he's up for re-election this year too. So we have a mayor and a governor. And in Hawaii, the elections for governor, mayor are, there's 4 counties. So 2 of the counties have elections on off years elections. And the other 2 have them on the years when the president is up. So, yeah, so it'll be an interesting time to watch this country today. We could spend the next couple hours talking about the unbelievable authoritarian shift in our federal government, and that's really a challenge to discuss. Every day it's shock and awe. Something new pops up.
At the level of shock and awe. It's just extraordinary.
Yeah, on the way over here, actually, I heard that, we just had this issue in Venezuela, and they just announced that a lot of the video clips that were put out about the situation there were actually fake videos. They were AI generated, and we all have to get into that perspective about questioning every single thing. It used to be like, see it with your own eyes. And it's shocking that, again, even I didn't think about that things they were putting out showing Maduro's arrest and this and that and all that were actually, and then what's going on in Iran, and then people with the...
These are all generated?
Not all of them, but they're saying that they're in some early investigation. They found some of them put out showing thousands of people on the street either protesting or celebrating were AI generated. So it makes you just question everything. It's... we are definitely challenged. There are
Have
some
you been
things...
able to figure out how to know if it's AI or not? Is there any kind of symbol or anything to give us a clue? Do you know?
No, I'm not technologically. There are more and more people working on being able to tell. There's the funny thing when it first started, people said, look at people's fingers. If they had 6 fingers, it was fake. However, there's no law and no requirement that something has a notation saying that this is AI generated. It's not true. So we're really challenged. Again, and for me, that's my feeling, that a third of the people on Maui and a third of the people in the country support this socio-psychopathic lying current president, and they just believe things that he says. And it's really challenging. Like I said a few moments ago, every day there's something new put out, whether it's local or national or now international. I was wondering, I asked somebody the other day if they thought we were going to change the flag from the 50 stars to 54 or 55 stars as we add Venezuela and maybe Cuba and maybe Greenland and maybe Canada and eventually Mexico. So our flag will start getting larger and larger as we incorporate all of these other places around the world. So we're definitely challenged.
Look at that. I left all that room in there for you to say more. Yeah, you're right. We are challenged. So let me bring it back home.
Yeah.
First of all,
back to Maui.
You're welcome to redecorate in here if you want. You can keep moving those glasses a few more times.
No, it's my...
But I hear them. Right. I just like...
Well, with the camera, I don't want to have my glasses on for the camera, but then I look and where's the camera? So...
Well, you've got your own. See that? It knows you.
Got it. Okay.
Now, Nikhilananda had a show here. What was your show called?
Maui Talks TV. Ran
Maui Talks TV.
7.5 years.
7.5 years on Maui.
Every Tuesday night.
If many of you people know this face, and you say, he ran for political office? Yeah, he did. But he was running all this time, and he's been an outspoken guy, and really, what got you interested in politics?
I'm not sure if there was a one moment in existence. It probably started coming out of my mom's womb. My dad was a triple amputee from World War II, was involved in veterans issues, and I was smart enough to be born in Brooklyn, so I would learn how to talk correctly. And then when I was 3, my parents moved to New Jersey, across the George Washington Bridge to Fort Lee, which was the original Hollywood of the East. The silent movies were made there. And they made me at 3 years old move with them. So I moved to Jersey, and I picked up...
You were forced.
Right. And I picked up a little bit of the Sopranos accent. And then when I was 12 and a half, I moved to suburban Washington, D.C. in Bethesda, famous for, of course, the location of the National Institutes of Health and the Naval Hospital, which is now Walter Reed Naval Medical Center.
Do you know Anthony Fauci?
No. I don't know. I know who he is, but I'm not, just because I lived in Bethesda. Just like on Maui.
I never know. He's been there a long time.
Now we have all these celebrities on Maui, and most of them we have little to do unless you're involved in music or the arts or something with them. But anyway, you asked me about so I was around my dad and living in Washington, D.C., or in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. in Maryland. The local economy is the federal government, so you're just inundated by that. I went off to college at Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois, and I majored in political science, came back to D.C., and I was the first male secretary at American University. And one of the fringe benefits was you could take a couple of classes at night. So I took a couple of classes in the graduate school, and eventually got my master's degree in political science. So those seeds were set.
Well,
as
political
far as
science.
being,
I mean, to me, having lived in that kind of a thing, you thought, I can make this better? I want to be able to shape policy? Or was it just, I mean, I'm just curious. Because when I got involved, it's because I saw things going on and I thought there needs to be some radical shifts in policy. And I chose to be in a third party only because I, at that time, thought that as a new third party, people would be looking and maybe say, oh, that's very much like us. We can vote for that. But in fact, I became identified as a radical that affected my next years here. They always said, Jason, the Green Party. And then people would think we're radical. We're only radical, just like the health thing's going with Robert Kennedy now. They're only radical if you try to take facts and pull them from the air, like Trump. Sorry. I can't help but using him as an example of everything bad. I'm a bit lopsided and don't know how to cut off my upset there.
Right. Well, there's the 12-step meditation about give me the wisdom to
know what I can
know
change.
what I could know, with the power to change the things I can, and the insight to know the difference between what I can change and what I can't change. You know, I'm paraphrasing that. I just talked about being in D.C. However, I guess my political career began when I was in college, and I went to college when I was 17. In my first term there, I actually stood for the student government and won in my first race. So actually at 18 years old, I was in the student government at Bradley University. A couple of years later, I was appointed to the Student Supreme Court. Excuse me. And so those were, I guess, the seeds. I had planned on going to law school, didn't go after college. And then when I was in graduate school, just before I finished my master's degree and took my comp, I got admitted to a new law school in Washington, D.C. However, here's the irony of ironies. They say when you get to a fork in the road, take it. My comprehensive exam was on, say, April 2nd on a Saturday. My law school began on March 28th. So I didn't want to be in law school for a week and also be studying for my comp, and I didn't want to take the comp early. So I decided to postpone law school and go the second term. And I took my comp, passed, got my master's degree, and at that point decided I needed a break. So I ended up traveling around the world, hitchhiking around the world, 50-plus countries.
Wow.
Just the other day, I looked at a map of Yugoslavia, and it looks like 4 of the countries, Croatia and Serbia, and I went, the countries that were then part of Yugoslavia. And so I think it was 4 different countries, Slovenia, that I actually went through on my way to Bulgaria and onto Turkey. So anyway, and then during my travels, I went to India. I found a spiritual teacher. I ended up living in a community for 4 years. And so in all that time, I was not politically active, I would say, just traveling. And when I got to Maui in the summer of '86, living here, I started learning about the community and, of course, that this was an independent nation. And when I first came to visit in the late 70s, there were still people alive that were living here when this was an independent country. So right away something, and you're not taught that in school, even with my master's degree, to realize the history. And that's, I guess, part of the challenge we have in the nation, that everybody has, including me. I don't know everything, obviously, so we all know what we know. And so I just started getting more interested in the local community. And and that's where we met. In the spring of '92, the Green Party of Hawaii was just getting organized. And it was forming in the country maybe in the late '80s. So you and I were 2 of the first 4 candidates for the Green Party of Hawaii on Maui. And I stuck with it. I got really excited. It's based on 4 pillars of grassroots democracy, nonviolence, social justice. And so people think of us just as an environmental party, but we're actually just as involved in social justice issues and nonviolence. And so you think that, like in what you said, I thought it was a good phrase, people think of it as radical. Well, our current administration looks at any moderate Democrat as radical, and they call them domestic terrorists. And this woman that was assassinated by the ICE officers in Minnesota, the first thing we got was the vice president, the Secretary of Homeland Security, and the President already condemning it and lying. And we talked earlier about videos, but they had all these people with cameras that took pictures showing that the vehicle, the officer, if he did anything, he stood in front of the vehicle, which is, of course, idiotic. And I don't want to go more into that situation, but it's definitely got people riled up. And so, earlier I said, every day there's something new, whether it's attacking Venezuela, now hearing that no matter what, we're going to take over Greenland. And we've just got challenges, and like bring it back home to Maui. We have a growing homeless and houseless population, unsheltered people, a lack of affordable housing. We had the disaster in Lahaina and Kula 2.5 years ago. So there is, again, so many issues that people are confronted with of trying to afford to live here. We have more billionaires moving to the island. We see our country has moved from an oligarchy run by wealthy people to a plutocracy, which is now really controlling all facets of the government. And that's the sort of the negative way of looking at things. And it just, again, this 12-step meditation. Look at the things that we can change and have the power to change them, and accept the things that we can't. And just to finish this thought, that's why people stand for office. They want to be a representative to then propose and help the community. And that's what we have. We don't have a pure democracy. We have a representative democracy, or a representative republic, where we pick someone who will represent us in a meeting to make the decisions. In this case, our local government is the county council with a mayor. So yeah, we definitely have some big things in changing. I do want to go back one other thing that you said, because your introduction had about 7 or 8 different things.
Good.
I wasn't a candidate every year. I chose to run because I learned that, look at what's going on this island. We have the county council makes the decisions and the mayor. And so the elected officials, you can have thousands of people show up to testify, and they do what they want. And so I saw that, having studied political science, that the structure of government we have, that it was important to have a say in the decisions. And over the years, I served on a couple of county boards and nonprofit boards and commissions. And so, again, I learned the value of that, being involved.
Of getting a seat that votes. Is that right?
Yeah.
'Cause, I thought that by being a media guy, like I've been for God knows years now, that would put ideas into the ears of people that would be the voice. And I've been underrepresented that way. And I didn't run only because I don't have resources. You have been really a champion at doing it and putting it out, even though you didn't have the kind of resources that many think it takes to get that message so broadly heard. Because what you just said, I don't think anyone I don't think anyone I've ever met would want to be against what you just were talking about. I don't really.
Well, sadly, there are people, like I said, You see people. I was at the
Selfish.
rally the other day
Yeah.
related to our federal government, and you had people driving by and say, "I like him," and I'd say, "What can you like about him? He's a socio-psychopathic liar."
What did they like?
He said, "Well, no, they just drive by in their trucks yelling out, 'I like him.'" And so, what did they like? They like that he's able to. He was a great businessman, and yet he went bankrupt how many times? And you talk to people, and they say, "Oh, no, he's a great." So, in other words, like everybody has their own information. There was obviously we had a challenge with the border, and so is the result. What you do now is that you stop people on the street because they're a person of color or they look a certain way, and you ask for papers. In this country, we don't have to carry our passport and ID, and yet people around the country, whether it's in Portland or in Chicago and Washington, D.C., or now in Minneapolis, people are being stopped on the street, and the people that are covering it, again, and I want to go back to when you talked about media, are seeing that they're stopping not white people, but people of color and people that look Latino, or they're racially
What's this deal
profiling
with Nicole
people.
Good? She was dealing with her kid at school. She was white, wasn't she?
Renee. Good.
Who's Nicole?
I don't know. Maybe that was her
that's
middle
another.
name. Maybe it's Renee Nicole. I know
Right.
Renee Good. It might be Renee Nicole Good.
Anyway, all I know is that when I hear these stories, I just can't imagine not every single person, even those that are in the Trump camp, wouldn't be horrified by that.
Well, they're spinning it. You see, that's the difficulty, because most people are trying to feed their kids. They go to work. They have 2 or 3 jobs to pay their bills. Not everyone has the time to follow everything that's going on. And then it depends on the media. And that's a good segue back to what you talked about, the impact that the media has. So now you have what's called influencers and TikTok, and people watch these videos and these people that are, the phrase is influencers, to have people believe what they say, and it's hard more and more now because we live in these little boxes. So if you
Yeah.
only watch MS Now, or you only watch Fox, or you only watch Newsmax, you're going to get a certain perspective on the world. And what's nice about some of the comedy shows is that they show the absurdity of what some people are saying, and yet a lot of people, and I have to look in the mirror sometimes, do I trust what I just read? And again, that's, I've been a Green for 30 some odd years. I've been a state officer. I've been a county officer. Like we did talk about, I've been a candidate both for county and state offices. And so the perspective that you get and the information you get is limited only to the time that you have to involve yourself. And not everybody has the time. So when you say people just get a soundbite, and even us talking here, look at what is being said. Yes, so it's good that we don't have rapists and murderers and drug dealers coming across the border. And what's the percentage of those? A whole bunch of people were coming across the border are women who watch their husbands get murdered, their children get raped in front of their eyes, and they need to escape from where they are. So this country, the placard that's on the bottom of the Statue of Liberty talks about being people. This was a place where people could come. Everyone in this country, unless you're were brought from Africa as a slave or you're a native person, came as an immigrant. All of my grandparents came here. I have no relatives living in Europe. They all came from there. I'm a 3rd generation. I learned from a cousin who's a genealogy expert involved with that the first people that arrive here, that's the 1st generation. So you hear a lot of people say, oh yeah, my parents immigrated here and I'm 1st generation. No, they're actually 2nd generation. So I'm 3rd generation. All 4 of my grandparents came from here. If they didn't come here, they would be dead, or they could have gone to some other country. So you have people around the world. Australia takes people in, Canada takes people in, Brazil takes people in. Different countries are places where people to escape the horrors of where they are. And with the discussion now, of course, in this country, we hear hardly anything about Sudan. where people are getting, thousands are being raped and murdered in Myanmar, where they're having elections now, and the democratic elected head of Myanmar, which used to be Burma, is now in jail. So things could get much worse here. People don't like, oh, no, this isn't a fascist government. No, but we have a person in the White House now who, like he said, he's only limited by his morality. Well, what if his morality is in the gutter? So then we're limited by his gutter mentality. That's why you have the rule of law. We learned this, the system that we have in the United States. And it didn't always work. We all know that. How many people were assassinated or lynched or shot and killed in the South, especially, and the people that committed those crimes were found innocent in a court, and that people of color were not allowed to serve on juries. And when I was a kid, my mother, for example, women, they couldn't buy a house on their own. They couldn't get credit on their own. So a lot of young people today, and I don't know how many young people are listening to this show, they don't realize the history of what people have gone through to get to where we are today. And so, yeah, there's, again, I'm rattling off, I'm going off on like a stream of consciousness, because it's sort of all intertwined. What people went through to be able to get to now where we have more of a semblance of equality, and people that we now just accept in our society. If you look at pictures from not that long ago, 60s, 70s, 80s, you see it's all white men serving in Congress, white men serving in the judiciary. So things have changed because we have a multicultural country.
Yet the pushback now feels like all the progress we were making on social everything is now rolling backwards, like Jack and Jill rolling down the hill. And that concerns me. So I hope that everyone that's listening and watching realizes now is the time to get involved. Now is the time to wake up. Excuse me. You know, by the way.
Oh, don't excuse yourself. You were totally right.
Well.
And now's the now.
Now.
No,
well,
now.
Okay.
Now.
Well, I was going to bring up something that may be controversial to you a little.
Controversial? What could be controversial?
After the event out there on the street saying we don't want ICE here, we don't want ICE anywhere, after I got out of there, I drove up to the EAO Theater, and it was, I want to say standing room only. It was full. There's a multi-island tour with a number of speakers.
Yeah, Jimmy Dore is one of them, right?
Well, you know, I never, just shows you I'm in a box. I didn't know who Jimmy Dore was until they say, oh, Jimmy Dore is here. Who's that? Yeah, who's that? I sat next to Dr. Nat. So he was in front of me. So we were watching. So he told me, oh, yeah, he's a comedian from Oahu. He has a thing. So when he spoke, the guy was...
Is Jimmy Dore from... see, I didn't even know that. From Oahu?
Well, again...
I didn't realize that.
I don't know who is where. All I know is he spoke and...
And hi, Dr. Nat, if you're listening to this. He played at my last 2 big birthday parties years ago.
You have big birthday parties anymore?
I used to. Yeah, I used to. I haven't... When I first got my property out in Coelho.
Well, that's because they took New Year's Eve and they turned it to Christmas Eve instead. You know, I used to remember your parties. I loved your parties. But then it got to be so many things against it. It sort of was like... I don't know how.
Well, the main thing against it was that the last one I had, poured rain, and instead of having a couple of hundred people out there on the land out in Coelho, 20 people showed up in the mud, and Dr. Nat was the band, and so we kept on the power kept on shorting out, and I finally said, you know, that's enough. So yeah, my birthday's. I just had my birthday the other day.
Is it raining out in Whalo these days?
No, it does. It did for a couple of days, but it's mostly been...
Is it historically getting less water?
No, it's yeah. It's as for the time I've been out there now, 29 years. It's as dry as I've seen it. So yeah.
That's interesting. And also,
But it's an island-wide thing, I believe.
well, when I drive through Maui and going toward Kihei, and I remember when I first got here in '88, and I bought a car and I drove out on these flats, and then I couldn't get out, and then someone said, "Oh yeah, this is the old wetlands," and then it was wet for a zillion years. It's now dry again. This is the driest I've ever seen it in 31 years, something like that. So your 29-year story. In fact, I remember when you bought that place.
Right, you helped me get it. So
well.
I think it's 28 years. I think I just lied.
And Naomi
28 and a
Hillinger,
half.
may she rest in
Yeah.
peace. And
Yeah.
Walter.
Thank you, Naomi, and Walter. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Maui has so many beautiful people, and it's been a really very wonderful and rich experience. It's been half my life. I know you're older than me, and you probably here longer.
Oh, I'm much older than you. You're a kid compared to me.
What is it now? 4 months?
5
months?
Right. 4 months.
Oh.
Your birthday comes up.
is
They
that-
wish Jason happy birthday in April.
Oh,
April
yeah.
11th, I believe.
Yeah, well, it happens. It has to happen.
Right.
I am 75 years old coming up. I don't really know what that... When I think of my parents and my grandparents at 75, first of all, my father didn't make it past 50. He died at 50. And so I was like, hey, I'm living past my father. Now I'm, again, half again. As much, and then my mother lived to 82, and that's coming up, but I have an 82, I shouldn't say that, the old girlfriend. Holy mackerel, what's that? It's a very interesting experience living.
She robbed the cradle.
That's right, very much robbed the cradle.
Right.
Well, we've been together, and together we're sort of like Mick and Bianca Jagger, whereas we live in different places, have set up different lives, and come together by choice. It's really been ideal. Everyone says,
Oh, you
got
and
the
you
best
and I
thing."
do that too. We live in different places.
Many people say, you should take my wife, put her in another house. That would be awesome. Anyway, it's been an interesting thing being on Maui all these years. These shows that you watch up there on MauiNeutral Zone, they're also on YouTube. Yeah, we still have a little bit of time, so when I start
Oh, no, I was just looking at the screen because it's a little camera, so I don't see a monitor, so that's why I was just
the thing
curious.
at the EL Theater that I was going to say that was
right.
controversial.
Right.
Well, I never was really knowledgeable about vaccines, but when the COVID thing was first coming on the scene, just so happens, one guy was working with the developing machine to create HHO. Anyway, that's a story about water and dealing with the Chinese. And so as this was all, I was kind of looking around and searching, and I heard the word COVID and SARS too. So I looked it up in patents, and wouldn't you know, on the SARS-2 patent, there are all kinds of names. And one of those names, first of all, why is there a patent on a vaccine? Oh, then I realized, if it's not natural, then they have to have a patent on it. That means all vaccines have to have patents. Well, here's this name on that one. It's, among other names, Dr. Anthony Fauci. Well, isn't he the guy? So there have been a lot of things that have, just like everybody that gets investigated, some are real, some aren't. I like your little puppy, Nick. He's so
All right,
quiet.
This is Radar.
He's such a
Radar,
good
say
boy.
hi. The other day at the rally, he was there, and an ambulance went by, and he starts howling.
Oh, did he?
And so then I egg him on. I go, oh, 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 oh. See? And so then he starts howling, and people got a good kick out of that. So anyway, you were back to
I was just saying,
meeting at the EL.
I believe there's an area that if people understood, they wouldn't be quite as anti. I think everyone needs to really look at that subject a lot more closely, or at least not condemn what they're doing. For example, they would like the governor not to enforce or not to pass a law that makes people have to take all these vaccinations. There's an extreme number of vaccinations. Hey, Radar. And that's really an issue to be not talked about here, but that's going to be a future subject. I don't like to get things where it's a he said, she said thing, but I would like a choice as an individual. And I don't know if the number of things they're choosing to want to make mandatory. Again, this was
Well, there was discussion when I was in college
even
about paying your taxes.
no, but the reason I'm even
and then
bringing
why
up,
should our taxes
just
go to?
this week on a national basis? We see that they're saying less and less vaccine to be mandatory, but Hawaii is trying to push it in as mandatory. I thought this timing, we have a lot of more viewing of this stuff. So, look what a calm, nice guy. Does he have any opinions?
Oh, he has a lot of opinions. See, he's whispering it to me. So,
Yeah.
it depends on people's information. So you talk about
Yeah, right.
vaccine. I'm not a doctor. So you choose whether you're going to believe your doctor or not. So one person says vitamin C works. Someone says don't.
no, it's really
Someone says
crazy
no, now
world.
you can eat as much
So
fat
all we have to do
as
is
you
the
want to
best we
eat.
can do. I'm
yeah.
living longer than my parents. The information is getting bigger. Some people say, wait, GMO, if you did want diabetes, they wouldn't even have a diabetes drug. So all these things is everyone wanting to be right and wrong. I just would like to have the freedom. And so that is an issue that I think is worth it. Radar, you really are in the middle of it all. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, yeah.
He's such a nice boy.
Yeah, he is.
We only have a few minutes left. We got a lot of minutes, but any subjects that really feel important that when you have the forum here, that you'd like to express or like to
we
share
touched
about?
on nothing jumps out at me right now. We've touched on a few things, not only political. You mentioned diet. Houseless is a huge issue on Maui. Why don't we have enough houses being built? Why have over the years we build high-end homes like what just got passed a few months ago by the current council to allow building 1,000 homes just is it south of right next to Maui Meadows, and they removed the number of affordable units that are going to be in workforce housing. And why can't we have affordable housing on the beach in Wailea and McKenna? Why only high-end gated communities? So again, people have talked about you judge a society by how you treat the most vulnerable in your community. And again, you have a lot of people talking, again, the unsheltered community is big on this island, but it's true all over. So the affordability of housing all around the country, so we're not the only ones. It's in big cities. It's even in small towns now where there's just not enough housing. And I don't have all the figures as to why. Is it land is more more expensive? Is it that the materials are more expensive? Is it zoning laws? You see how now you can build an accessory dwelling on property in certain areas where you couldn't in the past. So a lot of the rules and zoning and permitting are for health and safety. And so you have a certain political position that, I want to get rid of all kind of permitting and all kinds of oversight. And that allows, you can see around the world, some of the people have talked about the fires that happened on Maui were a result of also not being on top of water usage and the utility. And I'm just throwing things out because, again, you could spend the entire time talking about each issue. And the things that I'm not an expert on, I have an opinion. As we say, everybody has an opinion, and I could use, I don't know how much they bleep on this radio show.
Just like a butt.
Right,
Everyone's
everybody has so then it can get bleeped or not. And so just like I was impressed with the mayor of Minneapolis, saying out of this town.
That one will be bleeped.
And
that one will be bleeped.
Got it. And I
Don't do that again.
Right. So I saw like you just said.
Get the hook.
Right. Good. So yeah. Well, on CNN, they allowed that.
I'm not seeing.
No. I'm just saying that. In other words,
will
what are the
off.
words? Right. So what are the words that are? Well, I remember when I had my TV show, I wasn't bleeped at all. So now again, use that as an example. Why is that word? But if you say some analogy to it or a synonym to it or whatever, why is that allowed? So that's what I'm saying. When I watch. I'm just saying that. So there's certain words that are bleeped, and then George Carlin had that great skit about the 7 words that you can't say.
So right.
Who decides what word is okay and what word is not. Look at the language that we use now for different people.
For radio's FCC
So-
regulations, we fall under that guideline.
Right. Oh, no. So that's fine. So, so then you can bleep that out?
He's not bleeping it. I am.
TV as well.
I'll bleep it.
When I had on Akaku, they never bleeped me.
Well-
So now I know. Got it.
But then you know what they say. Without knowledge is not permission.
I never heard that phrase.
I made it up, but it makes sense. Just because you don't know the law.
Oh, no. Well,
doesn't mean
ignorance of the law is no excuse. I realize that. All
so
right.
you said it in biblical terms. I said it differently, but
Right.
it's the same message. But the most important part of all this is the freedom and why and who makes.
So now
those
Akaku is now
no.
Okay, got it.
FCC.
Right. So for the radio.
Radio is a different animal. That's
Got it,
why I
okay.
talked about equal time.
Right.
On TV, you don't have that same deal. Maybe you do, and I don't know it, but I just know that on radio, they're much more careful with what you say over the air.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's I don't have to use that word. I'm just saying.
No, I know.
I quoted.
Wait, are you okay? It's cold in here. That's the reason I wore this overshirt. Does he look cold?
No. He just does that sometimes. But
you okay, young man?
yeah, no, he's fine.
All right.
So okay, so right.
No, but,
talk about something else then.
Well, of course, the most important thing we said is that people have choices and they have to express them. And with all that's going on in all these subjects, nobody can do anything to make it better if they don't have their opinions heard. And I think it was really important. It was great to see so many people out there. I was sad to not see as many young people as I would have liked to have seen. But
Well, I wonder about that, and I don't have any answer to that as to why more and more young people. And I guess I think back when people say about elections and that young people. Well, the young people are the ones that 18 to 29 are the smallest demographic of
maybe
voting.
they don't know any better. Is that possible? Could our side
Or
have
they're
gotten to the
involved
point-
with other things in their lives, maybe trying to survive. Or they're busy watching TikTok. I don't have an
but
answer.
These are times when all of our audience should start sharing the word, start sharing this show, start sharing and start feeling more awake, because I think these are times when the very quality of our future and for the future generations are really dependent on what we do now. I'm very, very much believing these are one of those really important times in history that we should be glad we're here, because we can be and make a difference, at least by not expressing. I want to really thank you for your commitment all these years, Nick. I mean, to be out there, and people say, "Oh, is he running again?" They should be running. They should.
No,
be
you know what? I was looking just recently. A couple of people on the county council. Someone has now announced that they're going to run for mayor, and this is their 5th term, and they're now term limited, so you can only serve 5
Right.
2-year terms.
You can-
And so people, but the people on the council, 3 of them, I believe, lost the first time they ran, and then the second time they ran, they won. People have run 2 or 3 times and won. So not everybody wins on their first go around. People will lose for one race, and then they'll run for someone. For example, our U.S. senator ran for governor and lost running for governor, and then ran for U.S. Senate and won. So people have, people, there's a whole other subject we could talk about term limits. So people will, so I did not run every year, and I chose what years to run.
course.
And for example, just as a little thing really quickly, as far as the third party and the Green Party, and we didn't talk very much about the
Right, we have
Green
30
Party
seconds,
today.
so go for
So that I sent a message, because we've had to petition. Third parties are required to meet certain criteria that the 2 major parties do not. And so I just proposed something to my state representative, who's going to propose that about not requiring that the Green Party and third parties are required to meet certain criteria that other political parties aren't. So the Green Party, of course, offers people an alternative and a choice in partisan races.
Perfect. Nikhilananda, you've been a terrific guest. I know we can speak more. I hope you'll decide to come back another time and be here with me on this. And you too, Radar. You're going to sleep on me, huh? We are out of here. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Jason.
Wow. Something with this board. We're not hearing it, but we are knowing. We'll see you next week. Blessings. Aloha.
Aloha.